lovers, the moon is a thing of beauty. But to this man it is a deadly curse. When the moon is full, this miserable wretch turns into a hairy, snarling half-man, half-beast. Prowls the night, his fangs thirsty for human blood. He is a werewolf.
Hello, and welcome to the Werewolf by Night podcast, the show where we talk about Marvel's #1 lycanthrope, Jack Russell, a.k.a. the Werewolf, a.k.a. the Beast, a.k.a. the Shaggy One. I'm your co-host, Matt Howell.
I'm your other host, Jacob Balcom.
Thanks for joining us this week, listeners. We are pits deep in Marcosa House right now, and we're loving every minute of it. Did you hear that gurgle in my throat from whiskey?
That was terrifying. You're actually making haunted house noises with your body.
We'll kill that with some more bourbon.
Yeah, I'm going to drink more bourbon too.
Anyway, that might make it in, might not. But we have an announcement. As I was making some notes here, I noted that the pull date on this one, last issue was November of 75, and this one was January of 76. And then in the letters column, there was a note from the editor, and we decided to read this now to address what's going on. So there's a little box here on the letters page that says, rumor slaying time. Sorry to preempt the remainder of this letters page, but it seems the air needs a little clearing. Some of you may have heard the nasty news that Werewolf by Night is being canceled. The news is false, not true, inoperative, as they say. Admittedly, sales have slipped, and admittedly, WWBN was canceled for all of 2 or 3 gloom-laden weeks. In fact, this issue, number 37, which is incorrect, was slated to be the last, as the more astute reader may have already gleaned from the title and epilogue. However, it seems sales have not slipped as severely as was first thought. And moreover, the figures appear to be leveling off and apparently climbing again. So the cancellation decision was reversed and WWBN reinstated on the schedule, just in time for Doug to script this issue's story with less of a goodbye tone than he'd originally intended. Thus, Werewolf by Night will continue as a regular Marvel mag, albeit on a bi-monthly schedule, as opposed to its formal monthly frequency. However, should sales sufficiently rise, the monthly status will return. And to ensure that sales do rise, Doug, Don, and editor Marv Wolfman are even now working on a way of converting the werewolf into a more interesting and quote-unquote viable character. So keep your orbs pooled. Is that supposed to be peeled?
It is.
So keep your orbs pooled for a big change, capital B, capital C, in this strip, the first seeds of which will be planted next issue. We think you'll like the change. In fact, we're convinced it'll knock you out of your tree. Be here in 60 days so we can all find out. Interesting.
So they said issue 37. Is that just a typo or?
I think that's a typo?
Because he's talking about the end of the story, which is next issue, issue 37.
Yeah. Oh, you're saying he's alluding to, like this note was written about the next issue and ran a month early or two months early, possibly.
Maybe that's what I was thinking, because he was saying that this issue, has a tone of finality to it, which issue 36 does not. So
you're right. There's an end to the Marcosa saga that has a more final kind of ending note. Yes, you're right.
So it seems like they even got the placement of the ending note wrong.
They did.
Did it in an issue, confusingly, an issue ahead of time.
That's good that you figured that out, because I was going to ask you to, as we walk through this issue now, think of what Doug possibly changed to reflect this new schedule, but that it doesn't make any sense now.
No, I don't think so. So, but he did probably rewrite next issue.
Yes.
I'm assuming, so that the end wouldn't be, so final, but pretty interesting. So they were canceled. And then I wonder who saved it. Who's your guess?
Do you think this was a pet project to save this, or this was like Moon Knight generated some sales and some mail and they just, I don't know.
I wonder, that's what I was thinking. I wonder if the sales were slumping or had kind of leveled off, but then Moon Knight being on the cover kind of like made those issues go up. I'm not sure. And I'm not sure who the savior would be. I mean, I think that Doug and Don are in it to win it, but I don't know. I would almost say Marv Wolfman.
That was my kind of question would it be, he just got on the book a month or two ago.
Yeah, but I think he likes this book. He has, roots in this book. It's part of that horror line that he, basically was on from the beginning. And so that's my guess. I guess that he, pointed to the probably higher sales figures for the 2 Moon Knight issues. Based on the covers alone, I'm sure they sold more than normal. So that's my theory.
Yeah, I think the Marvel horror phase waning and the hero stuff kind of getting on the rise or becoming popular again in the mid 70s. I think that probably would have given that bump to those Moon Knight issues. Yeah,
but pretty interesting. So we're going to be on a bi-monthly schedule for the rest of the book.
Yeah. So, that stretches us out a little bit in publishing time, at least.
Publishing time for sure. And so, I guess we have the Marcosa house story. Then we have kind of what I'm assuming is the Brother Voodoo arc for the next 4 issues. And then there's a kind of forgettable story, if I remember reading about correctly at the end, that'll take us to the end of the run.
Yep. So I think that this, and I'm wondering now if a development in this issue we're going to talk about tonight is part of them trying to make him viable.
I wonder that too. Yeah, let's jump in.
Okay. So we're here for Werewolf by Night, issue 36. And this is a cover by Don Perlin doing pencils and inks. And it was cool having Starlin and Wrightson last time, but I enjoy this. It's a little busy, a little crazy, but I'm a little busy and I'm a little crazy.
Yeah, I was excited because oddly enough, for as prolific of an artist on this title as he is, this is Don Perlin's first cover.
On this title?
On the title.
Wow. I was kind of scratching my head trying to think, when was the last time he did a cover? And I guess never.
Never. No, I know you and I get confused and think that he did Giant Size Creatures #1, but no, that was Ron Wilson. So Wilson. Yeah, so this is Perlin's first cover, and I totally agree with you. It is busy and crazy. The layout doesn't make any sense. The colors are weird. I want to hate this cover, but I still kind of like it.
Yeah, I'm the same way. It's like a Will Ferrell movie.
It is. I don't want to admit that I like this cover, but I'll like it in the privacy of my own home. Thank you.
Yes, I do too. So our scene here is the dungeon of Marcosa House. It's got all the dungeon-y trappings, and Belaric Marcosa is swarming over the beast, and he's wearing his cape, and there are tentacles coming out of his cape where his arms should be, and one's wrapping around the werewolf's throat, and another's wrapping around the werewolf's knee, and the werewolf is straddling a giant, Skeletor skull coming up out of a pit in this dungeon. And it's Marcosa's skull because it has 2 giant rubies set in the front teeth. It has red glowing eye sockets. And Marcosa's body, as it goes down from his cape, it turns into blue plasma coming out of the skull's mouth. I just put this all together right now as I was saying it out loud. I don't know why I didn't notice it was emanating from the skull.
I didn't notice that either.
I like it even better. And in the foreground, there is a stupefied rat watching all of this happen. And Marcosa says, "Slash at me all you want, Moon Beast. It will do you no good. How do you hope to kill a man who is already dead?" Images of death. And it shouldn't work, and it totally works.
Yeah, it really shouldn't work by any logical layout sense. But yeah, it does. And I can never get enough of the rubies in the front teeth. I'm just trying to figure out how to do that for Halloween because I'm going as Marcosa.
That would be the most obscure and best costume ever. And I did finish the audiobook of Hell House a week ago, and there is that ain't in there.
No rubies on your front teeth in Hell House?
Nope.
Matheson missed out.
And that book, by the way, if people are interested, just kind of tracked down at a 45-degree angle the entire second half, if not from the first third. So It got pretty silly, pretty goofy, pretty pulpy. I don't regret listening to it, but it was interesting.
Well, you have to think about Matheson in the early 70s. He's getting into his Hammer horror phase. He just wrote Kolchak the Night Stalker.
Yeah.
So these aren't his heady Twilight Zone days. Yeah. These ain't morality plays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the silver bullet in that story was a giant machine that had to be constructed and turned on. And it was a resonator. And it was basically the guy's theory, the doctor, paranormal, parapsychologist, whatever, his theory was that all supernatural, he didn't call that supernatural because he said that's technically illogical because everything comes from Earth. So nothing is supernatural because everything is natural. I forgot the term he used. It's actually, paranatural. I don't know what the fuck it was. But anyway, it was this machine. He thinks it's all magnetic radiation that, emotional states can imprint on a place. So these orgies and these whatever and stuff happening here imprinted all of this energy in this place. And so he had to turn this resonator on to clean it and nullify it. It was a reverser. Sorry. It wasn't a resonator. It was a magnetic something reverser.
Oh, okay.
And yeah. So it seemed like he cleaned the house, and I'm not going to spoil the rest. There's some more in there, but that was the big device.
All right, then.
The Matheson MacGuffin.
Nice.
So,
well,
I love the inking on this cover. When I love the stonework, when it has the crosshatch, the little weird angled stuff to indicate like chisel marks in stone. I just completely get off on that. And the stippling on other types of stone and all the shading on the skull. Love it.
I love the different colored hues on the stones, from the flame that's coming from the skull. I did like that touch. I thought that was really cool.
I think the coloring is good on this whole thing. It pops despite its crazy composition, and the tentacles are especially gross looking in their color and inking.
But Matt, I would like to ask you, does what's happening on this cover occur within the issue?
I'm trying to remember. Does he surf a giant skull coming out of a dungeon hole to the Beach Boys like in Teen Wolf? No, he does not. We're drinking.
Drink.
Surfing USA. So nice job, Don.
All right, for our opening page, let's read the creators. Creators for this issue are story, Doug Munch, art, Don Perlin, lettering, Deborah James, coloring, George Rousseau, and editor, Marv Wolfman. Like you said, I feel like we've been spoiled the last few issues getting George Rousseau's back. Because God, he's good. He's just a fucking pro. He is a real artist.
Was Deborah James lettering last issue?
Yeah, Deborah James has been with us for, I think, 3 issues.
Okay, since the guy where they didn't even bother to put his whole name, Rachelson?
Yeah, well, yes, exactly.
Okay.
Phil Rach.
Or was it after him, was it the African-American guy that you said was like, you said you saw a picture of him between, I don't remember that guy's name.
I don't remember his name too. Yeah, no, we only got him for one. Yeah, we got him for 1 issue, and then I think the last 2. So all of Marcosa House has been Deborah James. She was called D. James, I think, last time. So we get her full name this time. Pretty cool.
Very cool.
It's a full-page illustration of basically the final scene from last issue with Marcosa looking down on Jack with Buck hanging from a noose from the upper level right in the middle. And the title of the story is Marcosa in Death. And it's built into the face of the stone wall. And we have Jack in the foreground saying, "Buck, is it really you, Buck?" And he had the body of Topaz lies at his knees. So I love the layout of this page. I'm just not crazy about the inks. For some reason, like the inks seem very hesitant and not, I don't know. There was something that I just didn't quite like about it. It seemed half finished to me. It seemed like this was roughed out.
It seemed like some of it was half finished and half of it was lovingly doted over. Like,
yeah, agreed.
I don't know. It feels like he did several passes over it and didn't give the entire work the same amount of attention, if that makes sense. So like the cool Eisnerian way of putting the title into the, what do we call that thing? The curved towery thing between 4s. Like the inking on the stones there and on the in the shadow of the lettering, like that's all very detailed. But then you go to like a figure and it just looks cursory, like just kind of a once over. Like Marcosa just looks kind of, I don't know, good enough.
Yeah, he does look good enough.
Jack looks just kind of good enough.
Yeah, I know. So again, I think we're going to deal with an issue that is that at least 3/4 of is really good, and the other quarter is just kind of weirdly rushed or changed, and who knows if they were changing any story from this part too when they realized, or if it is just next issue that got a big rewrite. But the bottom narration reads, Belaric Marcosa stood over Buck like a hunter over a slaughtered doe. He grinned, and it was a leer, and I could see the rubies set in his teeth, and I didn't even hate him because I'd lost that feeling along with my mind. Pretty good opening writing from Doug. I'm liking it.
Yeah, the first sentence or two here is heartbreaking, kneeling over Topaz, and it says, I could count on one hand the number of times we'd kissed, but she wouldn't hear that count. She was dead.
Oof.
That was sad.
Yeah, it is sad.
So yeah, I enjoyed this page. I like the composition. I agree with you that the inking is a little inconsistent, but I like all the detail that he did add, like the weird skulls and the stained glass. Next to the A in Marcosa, there's like a cool skull with like hair or like wind around it. That's really, just neat little touches like that all through it, but it's just not evenly done.
Yeah, totally.
Okay. So on the next page, Marcosa's addressing Jack, and he's saying, he calls him his lycanthropic guest. He's like, why are you concerned about the girl? She's already dead. Your other friend here, he's only dying. And so, we were kind of given to believe that he was already hung, but he's actually alive seemingly. And he's saying, my throat, help me, Jack. For God's sake, help me, please. And he's clutching at the noose, trying to, he's bucking around like a fish on a line. And Jack panics for a moment, and then he remembers, Buck is lying in a hospital bed in Los Angeles in a coma. I'm not doing this anymore. And he just kind of snaps, like he's done. Mm-hmm. And he says, what do you want from me? Why are you doing this? Do you just want to see me go mad? And then there's this nice 3-panel transition here where he's already heartbroken. He has tears streaming down his cheeks, and he gets increasingly angrier, and the lettering gets heavier and more bold. And, he's screaming by the end of this, but he's saying, do you want to kill me? Well, I'm already mad, so why don't you just go ahead and kill me too? And he's just screaming by the end of that. And that just makes Marcosa laugh. And he says, I've been damned to hell, haven't I? And he just says, fuck it, and charges towards Marcosa and starts climbing up the thing where Buck's hanging towards Marcosa, while Buck's still flopping around going, help me, Jack, help me. He's like, why not make it official by killing me? And he climbs up, and then Marcosa stops laughing once Jack gets up to the top. He's like, oh shit. And he's like, you know what? You're putting the cart before the horse. So I thought you're supposed to kill a person before they go to hell. And Buck's still screaming, and Marcosa's looking down like, oh shit. I might have pushed this kid too far.
Yeah, I liked it. I liked Jack just snapping here. That triptych of panels where he just gets more and more angry is really cool.
Yeah, I loved it.
No, I think the art on this page is really solid.
Yeah, I'm curious to hear where you thought it kind of fell apart, because I feel like I read this, I think 3 times, and I feel like I didn't notice anything that really felt weak to me. So I'm excited to see what we don't agree on.
Yeah, well, the biggest offender was the last page for sure.
Yeah.
The
agreement there.
Yeah, the opening page was not great. Like I say, the majority of the art in this is really good. Yeah, on the next page, it just kind of continues. Jack is screaming at Marcosa, saying, come on, kill me, why don't you? Then Jack grabs from Marcosa's throat, but then he disappears into a cloud of black plasma. But then Buck falls to the ground, and he says, help me, Jack, it's my leg. I fell on it. I think it's broken. Please, you've got to help me. I can't stand the pain. And yeah, his leg looks like it's at a super fucked up angle. It's really freaky looking. But then the text at the bottom is like, it was a trick. It had to be. And these 3 panels, they're transformation panels of Jack transforming into the werewolf. But it's so funny how just sad and detached it is. It's not a normal, painful transformation. It's just him almost just kind of saying under, real under his breath, just go away and leave me alone. You're not real. You're back in the hospital dying because I slashed you to ribbons because I'm a stinking werewolf and I probably murdered my best friend. And so he just gets kind of mad. So he's fully transformed into the beast at this point. And he's like, you're not him. You're one of Marcosa's tricks. Just go away. Just leave me alone. But then I like how Buck, or fake Buck, is still trying to sell him on it. He's like, Jack, you've just changed to the werewolf, but how? The moon's only a quarter full. And yeah, I love that bottom panel again. Yeah, the details of the skeletons and I'm just assuming that's some kind of stained glass or something.
Yeah, that's what I would figure.
Yeah, really, really cool looking.
I love the transformation.
It's awesome.
That first one, his ears are kind of getting sharp. His teeth are starting to kind of elongate. And the middle is so tricky. We've talked about that so much. It actually really works here. Like you can't explain the golden boy curls to the swept back, whatever. But
no, it's a perfect midpoint illustration.
Yeah. I dig this. I'm loving where Jack's coming from writing wise here. Like when the explosion happens and the plug plasma, whatever happens, somehow that makes the rope snap, and it says the Buck thing fell heavily. Yeah. Like Jack's already shut off that switch in his mind. Like, this is not Buck.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to be manipulated. I like that a lot. So to continue that kind of maudlin position that the Beast, Jack Beast is, he's kind of plops down with his foot hanging off the edge of like the landing. And he's like, I've noticed because Buck's like, dude, you changed. And he's like, yeah, I noticed. The moon doesn't seem to hold much sway here in this house. I just kind of change whenever he's just like totally okay with it. And he's like, you know what? Why don't you just vanish? I don't even feel like talking to ghosts. And Bucks gives him this whole story. Like, dude, I'm not a ghost. I woke up in the hospital and they said that I'd, said someone's name. And, I called him from the hospital and they said, yep, you guys had gone here. And I broke myself out of the hospital and I got in a car. I pulled up, I passed out, and I woke up and I was hanging at the end of a rope. And Jack's just not buying it. And he's like, oh man, my leg's definitely broken. I can feel the bones all splintered. Jack, ouchie, best bud,
Yeah.
And Jack just says, he's so beyond caring at this point. He just jumps lithely down to the ground and says, I may be crazy for doing this, but I'm going to take a chance and believe you're real. Guess I need someone to talk to anyway before I go completely crazy. So he picks Buck up and, they're kind of starting to walk. And there's this last panel here where Jack's crying, but he's the Beast because he was crying from Topaz. And he says, Buck, Topaz is dead. The house forced Elaine to kill her, to stab her. And Buck says, yeah, I know. Marcosa made me watch the whole thing. So that's twice that we've seen a werewolf cry in this series. Remember?
I know. Yeah, no, it's a monumental thing that happens. So yeah, it's a sad panel though. Like I have that marked to put in our feed because I'm just like, oh God.
It's super sad. And I did like that Buck, if this is Marcosa, he's doing a good job of pulling the stuff out of Jack because he says, believe me, Jack, this isn't some cheap canard made up by the writer and me. I'm just like, that's so Buck. Canard.
It is.
When was the last time you heard that word?
No, that's
no a French restaurant.
No, yeah, Marcosa's done really well at that. Like his tulpas are very convincing.
Yeah, totally.
And then I think one of the scariest things of the issues happens right on the top of the next page. There are these top 3 panels, and they are horrifying. So the first one shows Topaz, and she's starting to wake up. And then the second panel, she starts to wake up like she's been given the fucking Joker serum. Like it's this crazy grin, this like grimace. It's terrifying. And then the third one, she's like, what's the matter, Jack? Aren't you glad to see me alive? And like pounces at Jack and Buck and just tears into his eyes. Which, of course, I kind of like this, that though Jack seems to be totally in control, like the Beast there's still bestial instincts in him because he just instantly just slashes at her face after she tries to blind him. And then we have more of that black ectoplasm just kind of leaking from her. She says, don't be a fool, Jack. Relax and let yourself join me in hell. We can share everything we've never had the time for, if you know what I mean.
Saucy.
Like, oh, holy shit.
Yeah. I mean, this is like you're saying, that's the first thing I thought of too, was like Joker fish, like that kind of like the big leering, like her teeth even elongate, right? I mean, she looks like Willem Dafoe.
Yeah.
Like that's Bobby Peru or something. It's fucking horrifying. And I couldn't help but think, did Sam Raimi read this before? Like he's like 2 years out from starting work on Evil Dead. I mean, It reminded me a lot of that, like that Deadite, take the body over after they're dead and just say all the horrible, like Exorcist type of things to the person and mock them.
But it was funny when terrible Topaz and her tulpa, seems to, intimate that Jack and Topaz have never slept together. And I'm like, okay, I know this is a book for kids, but we knew they shared a hotel in Transylvania. They've been together. Like I know this is kind of putting a G rating on their relationship.
Is it? Maybe they had one of those boards like they had in the days.
Even though, in the first, narration box of this issue, Jack says he can only count on one hand how many times they've kissed.
Yeah, there's a distinct possibility that everything they did together we've already seen. There was no private time.
Oh, poor Jack.
Cuck.
Damn.
So I like here that he says on the next page, the werewolf slashed with a savagery, which was my own. Nice little note there that he's, kind of aware of the separateness, but he's enjoying the fact that he can tap into that savagery. And it says, no blood, of course, but the black bubble spewed free like slimy viscera.
God.
And she's looking up at him, leering, and her face is getting even more distorted and weirder. Like her eyes and nose are drifting further down her face towards her giant mouth. And she says, very good, Jack. Now your poor, sweet, good Topaz is really dead. And then immediately she just turns back into normal Topaz and she's dead. And he says, Marcosa again. He got a perverted kick from seeing me kill the girl I might have loved. And then you hear that laughter drifting through the house again. And Jack just thinks I was sick. And so he helps Buck and they're walking along, limping through the halls. And then they go in the dining room and Jack says, it can't be, Buck. It can't be. And there's Topaz sitting at the dining room table in a deep, deep trance with her hands on that skull with the hole in the forehead. And she's sweating from the labor of whatever she's doing with her psi powers. And Buck says, Topaz, thank God you're alive, girl. It's us, Topaz. But she can't hear them. She's so deep in a trance. And then a voice that is not her own, that is deep, like a man's voice, issues out of her mouth. Just creepy on creepy already in this thing. So she's channeling as a medium this spirit and says, we want to help you. If only you'll find us. If only you'll help us. Set us free. We'll help you escape this house. Help you escape Marcosa's. And then it just kind of chokes short. But yeah, I didn't need to hear her have some deep guy's voice come out of her mouth.
I was scared. It's freaky. I mean, I'm so glad to see Topaz alive, of course. But yeah, this is quite a scene to jump back into.
Yeah.
My favorite panel is the middle row, third one. The look of surprise on both the werewolf and Buck's face. It's really funny.
Yeah, there's a lot of funny stuff in here with Jack having his mind in the werewolf's body. There's some panels that I chortled at, and not in a mean-spirited way. It made me very happy, but
yeah. No, I mean, would you see that as something that would make the werewolf more viable of a character? If they were going towards a way like that when Jack is more in control?
I think having Jack in control and letting him, the monster thing being out of control, they did it with Topaz driving him for a while or controlling him a little bit. But I think this whole thing is kind of just edging towards like, what if he could be more heroic?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, we'll just see. It goes to a great panel on the opening of the next page. It's like Topaz suddenly sits upright saying, no, leave us alone. We weren't trying to help her. We'll kill her for you. Send her to hell, her and the others. Please don't. It says the scream broke along with Topaz's strength. She slumped forward. Yeah, Jack shakes her awake and she comes to like shocked that he's, in his bestial form, but with the mind and speech of human Jack. And he tells her, no, Buck's alive and here, but she's like, no, Buck's not here, Jack. It's an apparition sent by Marcosa to deceive us. And he's starting to believe. I mean, God, Jack's an optimist. He's a kid.
Yeah.
He loves Buck so much. He wants this to be real, even though I think in his heart he doesn't believe it. But he's like, no, listen, I thought it was a trick too at first, but it really is Buck. I can feel him. I can feel it in my gut. I'm like, oh. You can tell Topaz just is kind of shaking her head, being like, oh, sweetie.
Again, this is that thing where it's like he's got his arm draped over Topaz. Yeah. I mean, you can't call him Jack, right? I mean, he's the Geest or he's back or something. I mean, he's so his arm's draped over his could-be girlfriend and his other hand just kind of casually gesturing towards Buck as he's talking, covered in fur with claws and fangs.
No, it looks like he's showing them the wine list.
I love it. And I also love in that previous panel where he's saying, when Topaz says, Jack, you're the where, he's like, yeah, I know. I think Marcosa gets a kick out of me. Just, it amuses him to watch me walking around like this.
Which is it's a great observation.
Yeah.
Then the final panel, Topaz is like, but listen, Jack, there's hope. There's a way to defeat the house and end Marcosa's reign of terror forever. If only we can find the sympathetic presences here. They're trapped somewhere in the house, but I know my psi powers will lead us to them eventually. So again, Topaz is alive. She's woken up and she has a fucking plan. Like, this is the Topaz I love.
Mm-hmm.
And the Beast says, then things seem to be looking up. Buck's here and you're not dead. I actually managed to scare Marcosa a while ago. And now the final answer is within our... Then right before he can finish the sentence, says Buck slumped forward, putting a damper on the cheerful rally routine. But again, I mean, yeah, that's just Marcosa still just trying to fuck with poor Jack.
Yeah, and he never lets up, right? It's like
No.
It's like Guantanamo Bay or something like that for hauntings. just playing CNC Music Factory over and over again for 12 days at 120 decibels. It's not technically torture. So Topaz checks him and he has a pulse, and they say, well, let's get him upstairs. You know, you get a candle and I'll carry him. And he notes that Buck seemed impossibly light, almost weightless. And he's like, then I remembered I was the werewolf and that my strength was incredible. If only I could always retain my intelligence, myself, when I changed to the beast, I might even accomplish a few good things, or at least enjoy the body. There's another little hint, I think, from Doug that, you know, wow, if I could just get a cool suit like John Jameson and maybe a sidekick in a car.
I mean, I can see how they would think that would work. Like, it's a tried and true formula. And like you say, the monster books are starting to fade away at this point.
Yeah.
And people are into the tights and the capes.
No, I get it. I totally get it. Topaz shows him to the room next to Jack's, says, put him up in here. And as she opens the door, Elaine busts out full Norman Bates, face all contorted, dripping sweat with her same butcher knife. And she sinks it into Topaz again.
Yeah, the real Topaz.
The real Topaz.
So I'm just like, oh, shit. Oh, God, that last panel is so cool. I love that there's no narration, no dialogue. It's just full on Elaine stabbing Topaz.
And the beast dropping Buck.
Yeah, I know.
And I couldn't help but think there when he was saying, you know, I remembered that this was due to my strength and it's incredible strength. And I was like, wow, there's a bunch of letter writers from the first 2 years of this title who were like, I told you, I fucking told you. Remember all this goddamn angry people about how his werewolf strength?
Oh,
he should never lose to an average human being.
Yeah, you're right. They got their validation.
Yep.
It took 36 issues, but they got their validation.
I'm starting to wonder now that I read the editor's note, is a lot of this just addressing, how do we make everybody happy and sell as many copies of this book as possible?
Well, yeah, rule by consensus and making everyone happy makes the best art, right?
Yes, that's true, right? Yeah. And there's something for everybody. There's nothing for anybody or something like that.
So the next page, Elaine says, I told you I killed her, Jack. Told you I'd have you all to myself. The text says the knife wasn't silver, but since I wasn't sure I was really the werewolf, it could probably hurt. Also, I had to remember my strength. And bear in mind that this was Elaine and not some fiend which needed shredding. So I like this. It says, so I held back and I tripped. It's basically Elaine trips him and he just slams into the wall. So yeah, I guess he was laid low by a foot.
He almost knocked himself out, which I think he's done a few times.
Yeah, he has. He's fairly clumsy. But yeah, and then so Elaine gets up and standing over him. It's like, I told you, Jack, I told you I'd have you all to myself, and now I've got you all to myself. And so she stabs down the knife and just misses his head as he moves at the last minute. And then he just punches her in the face. He says, I kept my wits enough to punch rather than slash. So, okay, he's not, disfiguring her, but he's at least trying to get her out. But yeah, still the werewolf just punches Elaine in the face and knocks her out. Says I might have snapped the hinges on her jaw for all I knew, but to be brutally frank, I didn't give a big D.
Oh, that aged. Aged funnily.
Oh, God, that's so funny.
There are some ways here where it seems like Doug is trying to integrate his two writing audience voices into one. You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's all the funny stuff that lies in the middle of that is what we laugh at and complain about.
yeah.
Oh, so yeah, Elaine's down for the count. The Beast Jack says, Topaz, are you all right?
And apparently she was just stabbed in the shoulder. And she says, well, once we stop the bleeding, and then what's wrong? What's happened? And here comes Lissa jogging down the hall. And I was like, that's right. Lissa's here.
Yeah.
I keep forgetting about her because I don't know. It's so weird.
Because she was roofied hours ago. And she just woke up and is like, what the fuck is going on? Where is everybody?
Yeah. And by my count of time, this is either 5 minutes later or 3 hours later. I can't fucking tell in Marcosa House how time works. But it says the sedatives wore off. So she comes in. She's like, Jack, you changed into the werewolf. And Buck. He's like, yeah, it's Buck, all right. I'll explain on the wing. Right now, help me get him into a bed and get some bandages for Topaz. And so Elaine's woken up and she's fine. She's like, I'm so sorry. I can't believe I did that. And, like, oh, it's fine. It's the house. Marcosa did it. And then there's this great panel of Jack as the Beast, really stoked that everybody's back. Everybody's fine. Like, cheer up, Lissa. So far, you're the only one unmarked by this hole. And then she's bringing a pitcher of water and it explodes and cuts her hand open. But him smiling at his sister, big, goofy, happy, like Brady Bunch grin, going, hey, man, you're the only one that didn't have anything bad happen to him. He's like, well, so much for that theory. I guess I should have knocked on wood instead of opening my big mouth in. And then another rolls through the house and says, we were all marked now. Belaric Marcosa liked it better that way. It was his way of saying he could take us whenever it pleased him. In that last panel, as they're all shocked by the laughter, it's a little Scooby-Doo. It's a little goofy.
That's as Scooby-Doo as we've gotten so far, which is pretty good.
That's a lot of restraint for 3 issues.
It's a lot of restraint, even though, is it funny? Aside from that panel of the werewolf, like smiling and extending his hand out. I almost think our second post on Instagram should just be a compilation of the smiling werewolf.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. And I want to correct myself. This would not be Scooby-Doo because there's a werewolf in the gang. And I don't know if you ever saw all the ripoffs of Scooby-Doo, but there's one called Fang Face about a Scooby-Doo like group that solved mysteries. And one of the members of the group, if you showed him a picture of a full moon, he would turn into a goofy werewolf with a backwards red hat on and one giant fang coming out of his upper jaw.
This was real?
Yeah.
Oh,
you can see full episodes on YouTube. Fang Face.
Oh, thank God damn.
We might have to put a picture of Fang Face in the feed now as well.
Okay. All right. We're getting in deep now. So for some reason, the first panel on the next page really made me laugh. So it's the gang taking a canned soup dinner break and they're all eating straight out of the cans like hobos.
Mm-hmm.
And the Beast is again just casually sitting on the table, like one leg's up on it. And oh man, his casual poses are just killing me this issue.
Yeah. He's like that, it's like the teacher wants to be cool and they turn the chair around backwards and like sit there and like, hey guys, let's rap. Huh?
Yeah, he is. Yeah, they're rapping right now. Oh my God.
I love Casual Friday, Jack, man.
Yeah, wow. This could be one of my favorite incarnations of the Beast. Casual Friday Werewolf.
Who needs Joe Fixit when you got this guy? This guy's hilarious.
Oh, so yeah, they're just chilling out eating baked beans from the can. and then suddenly, and I also like that they have the scary skull just casually on the table between them. And then suddenly, like, Marcosa appears from behind them and he's grappling with the peasant that we saw last issue. And the peasant is like, you're getting desperate, Marcosa. You're on the edge of defeat and you know it. He's like, you're finished, Marcosa. We have vowed to aid them, and together we will send you down into the real hell. And then he throws a fireball at the gang that kind of envelops their dinner table and burns the floor away underneath them, kind of like sending them falling down into the dungeon. And I really liked that last panel of them falling. I thought it was cool. I think it's a cool angle.
Yeah.
It's almost Funhouse in a weird way.
Yep.
But I liked it. I really liked this page. Every panel really entertained me in a different way.
Yeah, this was a big what the fuck page for me. Like when Marcosa and the peasant are struggling, Jack just says, I tried to lunge forward to help him, but strain as I might, I couldn't move. And he's just kind of like vibrating in one spot rigidly. Like everything. I know Marcosa has incredible power over this house, but it's just getting, and the peasant just shooting a fireball out of his hand. I guess he's helping them by sending them away.
I know. Oh man. The strange power set that all of these spirits have just keeps changing in really entertaining ways. And
I did not fully appreciate until you mentioned it, the fact that they're chomping down their beans. I guess they didn't bring sterno, the cold beans, and that skull is on the table. And it's like, I was just thinking like, wow, it's remarkable that, Elaine didn't stick a cranberry spice candle in the middle of that hole in the forehead and put some boughs around it or something. Because it looks very decorative.
It does. Like they're just all so nonchalant there. They've seen the shit. They've been in the shit for like 3 issues.
Oh my God. They land. They just, like as Jacob said, they just fell through the floor like in like Dragon's Lair or something. And they landed down in the basement. And what's weird is that the flooring around them is all charred. The table fell with them. The skull came with them. But there's no hole in the ceiling they just went through. This isn't important. It's just another indication of how completely fucking bizarre everything in this house is. Jack's thinking, wait, this doesn't make any sense. And Topaz is holding the skull, like Hamlet again. And she says, it does, Jack. I know what's happening. I can feel it. The peasant said he was showing us the way. It's the skull. I can almost feel it tugging me forward. And then she's talking about, remember when we found that skeleton without a head? These two belong together. And so she puts it back onto the body that was walled up without its head. And then blue plasma starts pouring out of the skull hole. And then it forms into an 19th century gentleman in finery, a dandy. And it's also the peasant from before, but he's dressed not as a medieval peasant. Now he's a recent dandy. And the werewolf gets up in his face and points his claw finger at him. He's like, wait a minute. Just a moment ago, you were upstairs battling Marcosa, and you said you were a Transylvanian peasant, the spirit of the original werewolf which supposedly possessed me. He's like, I lied, Jack Russell. I guess every page is a what the fuck page.
It is. That is what makes these Marcosa House issues so fun, is that they're just so filled with what the fuck moments. But yeah, how awesome Topaz taking charge, figuring shit out, putting the skull back with the body, and then that great ectoplasm coming out of the hole is so cool.
Yeah. It's to nobody's credit, it took them a while to figure out, let's put this skull that keeps popping up onto this headless skeleton. That's like a level 1, dungeon Zelda thing. Like that's not.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. No, they should have known better. See, on the next page, the man says, Marcosa forced me to pose as the peasant to deceive you in his diabolical games. Actually, I am, or was, Gideon Blaine, a theatrical magician and hypnotist. In many ways, my studies paralleled those of Marcosa, though, of course, I did not put my abilities to the same use. It says, my wife came to this house over a century ago. She fell under Marcosa's evil power and died there for Marcosa's amusement. So he learns of her death, went to try to figure out what happened or avenge her, but Marcosa knew that all of the people in the world, I alone might match his strength of will. They're both very psychically strong. And so he used tricks involving my dead wife to defeat me and killed me. And then he beheaded me and walled me up in this dungeon, saved my skull for the gargoyle, sealing it inside the stone demon. There's a lot of exposition, but we had to figure out, who this guy was. So he says that, he kept my spirit separated from the spirit of my wife, rendered me powerless. But now that you've made me whole again, you've restored my psychic power. So now I can help you defeat Marcosa. So yeah, it's a lot of info we got there, but pretty key to the story.
So is this Sid or is this Marty Croft?
Yeah, I know.
Who came up with this? So yeah, man, we're not even done. Sorry.
No, we are only halfway done. Like the piece is like, what others? She's like, Marcosa's other victims are trapped beyond that wall. And then this was another, like maybe my top 3 funniest panels for some reason for me. The text is like, there wasn't much to lose, so I bashed in my second wall of the night, this time with the strength of the werewolf, but it's a werewolf wielding a crowbar. It's like a werewolf with a chainsaw or something. It's really, really funny.
Yeah, it's refrigerator magnet poetry at this point, and I'm loving it.
It is so good. So yeah, the werewolf beats through a stone wall with a crowbar, and then this newly resurrected psychic warrior is like, follow me. He heads in. It's like, he entered quickly, leaving his skeleton behind. We decided to join him.
Questions. In that last panel, so the beast just basically went into the walled-in area where the skeleton was and beat down a second wall, and that's where they're climbing into. And is Gideon Blaine's skull, does he have Ralph Wiggum hair?
Yeah, he does.
Okay, just making sure. Really weird. Or Linus, I don't know.
Oh, man, it's so weird.
But this page was amazing because I love that panel in the upper right where Marcosa and Gideon Blaine are Marcosa's killing Gideon Blaine as his wife, her spirit was being, resurrected to lure him somewhere or whatever. But they're kind of like half in silhouette. That's a really cool touch.
Oh, yeah.
And then the next panel after that, showing the headless body being walled up. I didn't even know you could show a headless body. I know there's no bloody stump or anything, but it's still a decapitated body.
It is a decapitated body, but this is 1976, and
okay,
no one's getting stabbed through the eye.
Okay, fair enough.
The code cares a lot about that. But yeah, it's kind of cool little Cask of Amontillado touch there.
Yes. And then on the next panel, he says he saved my skull for the gargoyle, sealing it inside the stone demon after he had done certain things to it. And I, being a juvenile, went to a completely Ed Gein, like, gross place with it. Like, oh, what did he? Because we know this guy had orgies here,
Like, what did he do to that skull? Holy shit.
And they're like, we ate cold soup next to that. That's disgusting.
Oh, man.
Okay, so in the next page, they have entered into the hidden secret chamber where all of the dead people that Marcosa has killed are all they're moldering and rotting in these kind of like makeshift catacombs. And Gideon Blaine somehow summons them by raising his arms up, and this ectoplasm starts issuing forth from all of the skeleton remains' eyes, and they have like jack-o'-lantern faces in the ectoplasm as they're rising, just to indicate these are souls, which I thought was super cute. And then they form into shimmering, glowing forms of what they looked like, their spirit forms. They're all milky images of people from the past. And I got to read some of this because we have to explain. I think Doug's conception of a soul and life force and some other terminology, essence, are all mixed up in a way that I don't track them in the way, like, we have opposite definitions. So I need to kind of read this. So the spirits are saying, why do you disturb us, Gideon Blaine? Marcosa allows us little peace as it is. And he's saying, we need to help my wife. We can all defeat Marcosa here. And they were saying, well, if it's defeating Marcosa, we'll do anything that you need. We'll help. And then Jack, as the beast, I have to always clarify this, like, interjects himself between the ghost and the living ghost of Gideon Blaine, and he puts his shoulder on Gideon, and he's still holding the crowbar, gesturing with it. And he's like, hey, wait a minute. Can you save a life? A man who's dying? Funniest fucking panel, I think.
It's so good. Yeah, I don't know.
He should have been eating a carrot or something. He's just so casual. Like, he's just so comfy in the skin. It's hilarious.
Yeah, I think this is his most comfortable form.
Yeah. So one of the spirits says, well, we have vowed to do anything, Jack Russell. If you aid us in destroying Marcosa, one of us will gladly sacrifice himself to preserve your friend's life. And the beast, Jack, is like, sacrifice? And here we go. Okay. He says, spirits are much like radio waves, ever present in the air around you, but formless and invisible until a receptacle is provided in which we may manifest ourselves. When a baby is born, a spirit inhabits it and possesses it with life, just as radio waves manifest themselves when a radio receiver is switched on. He continues on in the next panel. This accounts for feelings of deja vu, of reincarnation, For, although a spirit is virtually stripped of identity when it enters a newborn baby, sometimes vestigial memories linger, memories of a previous lifetime. So, to save your friend, one of us must sacrifice his spiritual identity to enter your friend's body and fill him with a new spirit of life. And Jack just thinks, it smelled fishy. But
yeah, it does.
Yeah, so again, this is that thing where in Doug's world, souls are interchangeable, and somehow the body is the marker of your identity more than your soul is. And that to me is the literal opposite. Like whatever the soul, quote unquote soul is your essence of your being. You can call that, if you're a hardcore rationalist, you can just say that's the brain and the electrical charge that is a human awareness that creates thought. But I mean, like, I don't get his way of thinking of things. That you just hop into a thing and you're born anew with some kind of marks here and there of like, oh, that's what deja vu is, and that's what past life, regression is. I don't know.
This is all nonsense.
Okay.
It's just not. Of course, I am totally open to many interpretations of what a soul is, what our self is, what a spirit is. But this is just mixing it up in a really confusing way that doesn't make any sense. And I actually think Jack as the Beast has the best reaction to it, because at that bottom panel, like you said, it reads, "It smelled fishy." And then on the next panel, which I think is the best bit of rationalization on the next page, that Jack as the Beast says, he's like, "How do we know you're not another trick? If you're from the last century, how do you know about radio waves?"
Good call.
It is such a good call. When he's holding that crowbar, it gives him the confidence to make these kind of leaps of logic.
Yep. It's the magic crowbar. And at the end, they're like, "Jack, it wasn't magic. It was you all along."
It was just a crowbar, man. Oh. And so, yeah, the spirit's like, "Well, in the limbo of Marcosa's hell, there is not much to do except observe the world's progress and hope that someone will finally see us and help us." Yeah, I'm still not convinced.
Yeah,
I know these guys are on the level, but I'm still like, this is a fucking trick. I don't trust this at all.
Yeah, no, this, I to give Jack some credit, this is, like what Bart with the electrified cupcake, like Jack's actually like, "Nah, fool me 75 times.
Yeah.
Shame on me." I actually think you're full of shit.
Yeah. But, Topaz kind of takes the lead again. She says, "They're telling the truth, Jack. I can sense it with my empathetic power, or my empathic powers. Besides, Elaine mentioned that her husband and the other members of the expedition brought transistor radios with them to test the house's effect on reception." So I like that she's coming in with the facts and being like, no, they know what radios are, okay? And he's like, "All right, Topaz, guess I'm just edgy." Yeah. Everything the werewolf is saying makes me laugh.
Yep.
So he turns to Gideon Bland and is like, "We'll help you if you help us. What do we do?" And of course, being the fine gentleman, he's like, "This way, please."
So this is David Blaine's great-great-grandfather?
It totally is. And he says, "Behind this door lie Belaric Marcosa's mortal remains. We must penetrate the door and destroy those physical remains." Then he's still got the crowbar. So Jack as the Beast says, "If you say so," and totally just smashes this lock, says the lock was brittle with age, and though the door itself must have weighed a ton, it did open. And he's starting to open it a little bit, and there's some weird kind of black smoke, there ectoplasm that's coming out of it. Then he opens it totally and says, "Yeah, it opened all right, like the gateway to all hell." And then we see this tentacled monster come out and grab every member of the gang. It's a really cool bottom panel.
Yeah. It's almost like isn't the Wrecker's crowbar like enchanted by Norse magic or something?
It's enchanted Uru, this crowbar.
It's almost like he thinks that's it. And he's like, "No, that's cool. This is magic. I got this." That's so funny. Yeah. And we didn't mention this, but the door, Marcosa's remains are behind, like, it looks like a bank vault. Like it's a huge,
it's a giant 15-foot door.
Yeah. And I love these tentacles that explode out like immediately. It's almost like one of those You know, the canned nuts that have a spring snake inside?
It is.
It's practically, it's like that. Like everyone's immediately completely wrapped up multiple times. There's gross steam coming off of these giant red tentacles. Wow. So the spirits burst into flame and disappear in agony. So maybe it wasn't a setup, but we were still trapped. And then, you know, you listeners of the show know that Jack has some experience with tentacles, with creepy tentacles. So he goes right to town. He's like, the werewolf didn't like being trapped. So he ripped the slimy, disgusting tentacles out of the way of freedom. And he just goes to town, just shredding them. And since Jack Russell didn't like his friends being trapped, and he's just slashing, like freeing Topaz, freeing Elaine, he says, I shredded the rest of the tentacles. And he's just like a hellhound, just like Tasmanian devil. He says, go on, get back now before you're caught again. He's telling you freed Lissa. So everyone's free now. And then the severed tentacles are all writhing around. They start to pull back and retreat into the vault door, and they suck themselves back inside, and the door slams. And then the tentacles, like where they had bled and oozed onto the people, their skin is burning like acid, and they're panting and they're trembling and trying to recover. And then Topaz says, Jack, do you hear that? What's that sound? And then this last panel has to be in that second post as well. Big shit-eating grin. Werewolf Jack says, sirens, police sirens. And he looks like it's Christmas morning.
Oh, he does. Oh my God. Yeah, there's so many. I mean, we tried to do 6 pictures for a post. There's at least 6 of him with a crazy grin or just in a nonchalant, chill pose. Oh God.
You have one of the best ones coming up.
Oh, I know. Holy shit. Yeah, my only complaint was with this page is that he didn't go full werewolf and just start chomping on the tentacles. That was the only part that I was like, I could have used some of that. I
think that's actually self-awareness, and like Jack saying, I'm not putting that in my mouth.
Yeah, it's true. He's aware. He's not a mindless beast at this point because he has a shit-eating grin on his face. Which seems to indicate sentience.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh my God. Oh shit, like this page is so great. You know, this is one of those issues to where I went into it being like, oh, this issue's pretty good. But I have so much fun on each page, especially at the end here. And I'm just like, oh, I love this fucking issue. This is great. So they all start tear-assing out of that place. And they're like, you know, Jack's like, quickly. And says, but absurd or not, we lost no time in running to greet it. I didn't notice that the door was unlocked this time. I noticed only that it opened and that it was true cops, the cavalry to the rescue. And I love this panel of these cop cars coming with their sirens, but it's like they're driving through like 2 feet of pea soup fog. Yep. And Topaz is, oh my God, that panel, that middle panel, holy shit. So it's Topaz being so excited. She's like, they must have been sent by Selwyn's men after Buck phoned Selwyn. And then Lane's like, yes, and after Buck's escape from the hospital was noticed. But the beast in the middle of them, he's closing his eyes in joy and just has the biggest grin on his face.
It looks like, what was that Leslie Nielsen show, Police Squad?
Yeah.
Like at the end when they do like the fake freeze frame, like everyone's like, there's a last joke and they slap each other on the back. It looks like that. Like the credits just start rolling. Sit, Ubu, sit.
Oh man, it's so funny. And then, but I really love these last 3 panels. That there's just one that's like a kind of wordless. It doesn't have any narration. It's just a cop getting out. It shows the bottom half of a cop getting out of the car. Next panel is the gang all have horrified expressions on their face. And it says, we should have known it wasn't the cops. It wasn't the cops at all. And we see like 6 police officers walking towards them, but they're basically like chalk-faced zombies. I was just like, oh shit.
That reminds me, this is so effective. I love the second half of this page. This whole page is great, but they remind me of those Romani from that last Giant. So when he went to Transylvania and got Topaz, just horrifying. Like the way it's like very Lucio Fulci, like they're not desiccated, they're not mummified, they're like pulped, rotten. It's hard to describe why they're so creepy, but they're just ultra horrifying.
Yeah. No, it's an amazing page.
And I didn't get on this first upper row here, like when, you know, they're excited, they hear the police, salvation, they're running to the front door. Like, what was Jack? Because he's Jack. thinking like he's going to run out and wave his arms over his head, like, hey guys, like covered in fur, claws. Like, that's not going to go well. I mean, it doesn't matter. There wasn't cops, but.
No, I know he looks like a werewolf, but he has a giant grin and a crowbar. So they're going to love that.
Oh, well, it worked out so great for Sal Mineo and Rebel Without a Cause. So, they go back inside and slam the door because they're surrounded by zombie police cop dead. And then they hear Jack, and they look up the stairs, and it was Buck, weak as a kitten, ready to fall on his face. He's like, Jack, I've got to tell you something. And he's got a makeshift splint on that Jack made by smashing up some furniture and getting some gauze and stuff. And he's like, what is it, Buck? Tell us what. And there's this great panel here as Buck's going down the stairs to approach Jack and Topaz, and it's all in silhouette, and it's just orange and black, and I love it. And Perlin starts like doing detail on the flagstone type of rock, and it gets more and more heavier and detailed in until it just becomes black and shadow at the top. Very cool. And it says he came down the stairs, and then there's this 3-panel thing going on in the middle row here. There's a close-up of Buck, and it says, and then he starts kind of vibrating and phasing. It says, I'm not. And then in the final panel, he's Marcosa, Buck. And it's Marcosa grinning wildly. And one of the crazy things about Marcosa is he has that terrible, pretentious beard and those weird rubies, but also the whites of his eyes are blacks, which is totally upsetting to me whenever that happens in comics. And he's leering almost like Topaz did when she was like the Joker fish, Tulpa. And it says, Belaric Marcosa smiled. And then we cut to the outside as the zombies are shuffling through the pea soup closer to the door, and they're about to break it into splinters. And it says, inside, Marcosa blocked any feeble escape we could attempt. As he starts walking down the stairs, his cape kind of flowing with emotion as he approaches them. And he says, I've toyed with you long enough, my pitiful guests. And like all good things, this game must now come to an end. And it says, next, this is it. Everything the past 36 issues of Werewolf by Night have been building up to, the stunning, soul-chilling final ending. So yeah, that editor's note was clearly a mistake, and that should have run in the next issue.
Yes, it absolutely should have run in the next issue. But hey, we figured it out. We were only confused for a minute, and we figured it out. And so, yeah, so we'll talk about our thoughts about how this story was probably retooled after they found out that they weren't canceled.
Yes. Definitely.
No, it's a really cool page. I love all the panels on this page. Actually, they're all really, really great, especially the Buck to Marcosa transformation. Yeah,
that's super great. I'm in love with the way Perlin does these old castles and these old halls and stuff like that. The attention to detail, like, you know, the top of the stairs and that one that's orange and black, like it's got its own type of shadow to differentiate it from the one in the foreground. It's just, love this stuff, man. And he's got that lithe. Remember those weird silhouettes? What was that? Was that back when Coker and Jack were chasing each other through the night, and those cool silhouettes like on the rooftops? The kind of same thing with like the super thin Topaz, and everybody just looks very expressionist or something, evocative.
No, it looks amazing.
And he's seemingly settled on that Jack Kirby Challengers of the Unknown Buck, which I have grown to like. I like the Plug Buck Cowan. That's more the rusty nail and a rare steak kind of guy. But yeah, I'm liking this guy. This guy's all right.
Yeah, I don't mind Challengers of the Unknown Buck. It's fine.
And Marcosa to me just looks like Mike Lukenlund, Bobby Brady all grown up. I don't know why. He just looks like an evil Bobby Brady.
That's a good call.
Like in the Christmas episode or something.
Yeah. You know? So I don't know. What did you think of the issue? Final thoughts?
So yeah, going through it with you made my fourth kind of read through, and or fifth ultimately. The first couple times I was like, it's pretty goofy, but I'm still with it, and I'm enjoying it, and I'm definitely loving this Jack thing fusion. Now that I finally read the editor's note and realized they were working towards, I think, trying to retool him to be a different character that could be viable. It kind of takes a little of the polish off the weirdness to me, but I still enjoy it. I mean, I'm still laughing and loving all the fun. So yeah, I thought it was great. I mean, the pace did not let up. This is 3 issues of breakneck pacing. So I love that. And I love that Perlin and Doug are still pulling some crazy stuff out of their quiver and doing things I did not expect constantly. It's almost at this point, it almost becomes like fatiguing, where it's just like, I mean, I'm glad that Jack finally broke, because I was getting to feel that way too. Like once it's just like, oh, it's dead. No, I'm not. Oh, I'm dead. I'm not. I'm a ghost. I'm real. I'm solid. I'm phantasm. Like enough, and Jack did that as well. So
yeah, I totally agree. I really, really liked this issue. And I know at the beginning I did call, I kind of was like, the art's a little uneven, but really it was just that first page. Like, you're right. The rest of this was, I don't have any complaints. Like, there's still a lot of bonkers plot twists, and, the zombie cops at the end make me totally appreciate this issue. This arc has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, again, like I mentioned before, I don't remember how this kind of wraps up, so I'm excited to read the next issue and see how they got out of here, because they've definitely done a lot of setting up.
Yeah, me too. I haven't read ahead. I'm still just going one issue at a time to not spoil.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
I know it takes a lot of self-restraint.
It does,
but it's also an indicator of future success.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, like they do those things with the kids. Little kids, and they'll say like, here's a chocolate chip cookie. If you do not eat this cookie for 10 minutes, you can have 2 cookies. Have you ever heard about this?
I don't think so.
Oh, they'll do this. And they found that the children who can delay gratification and restrain themselves almost uniformly are academically more successful and just more successful in life.
Oof. I don't know what decision I would have made as like a 5-year-old kid. I'd like to think I would have waited for the 2 cookies because I love cookies, but I don't know. I don't know what
I would have done. I feel like I would have probably not eaten it, but that's because I was raised Catholic and I probably think I didn't deserve it anyway.
No, you didn't.
Because I'm a bad boy.
No, original sin says you don't get a cookie.
That's right. Yes. So I think I might have, but I'm the outlier that disproves the whole theory. I'm not successful.
No, you are too.
Well, I think we're both in agreement that was a blast, and I'm excited to see how this ends. And I really look forward to talking about what we think Doug was going to do and what he maybe redrafted with news of them not being, having their neck in the noose anymore.
I feel like we are the 2 most qualified people to go and do this investigation, and we're going to hit it. We're going to hit it hard next episode.
Nice. Looking forward to that. All right. Well, are you ready to talk about some multimedia?
Absolutely.
Werewolf Multimedia.
Okay, so for Werewolf Multimedia this week, we watched The Undying Monster from 1942, and this was recommended to us by Mark, who sent it into our Gmail account, and you can recommend stuff to us as well at werewolfbynightpodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear any recommendations for werewolf movies that are not Paul Naschy related, or werewolf comics, or just any comics in general, just anything you want to know. Or you can ask us questions and we'll answer them on the air, or what have you. So yeah, this is an era of filmmaking that I really enjoy. I know you like as well, Jacob. So what'd you think of this thing? This is called The Undying Monster. It's also known as the Hammond Mystery, which I think is the name that I knew it as. I'd heard the title.
I think that second title makes a little more sense. As I was watching it, I did really like how it was filmed and directed. So I had to look up the director. It's directed by John Brom, and he went on to direct some of the greatest Twilight Zone episodes of all time, like Time Enough at Last.
Oh,
and Mirror Image.
Wow!
And there's like 10 of them that I know that are really, really good. But those were the top 2 for me, and also are in my top 5 Twilight Zones. So that made a lot more sense.
Yeah, and this was 63 minutes.
Yeah.
And to me, it felt very episodic. Like it felt like I had met these characters from Scotland Yard before, or I could have in a previous mystery or something. It felt like an installment in a film series.
It did. So the film itself is about a family named Hammond, thus the Hammond Mystery title, with a cursed history. And yeah, like you said, they're being investigated by a Scotland Yard scientist named Robert Curtis. and his kind of assistant, which I'm assuming love interest too. Who,
Really?
I don't know. Like they stayed in the same place, right?
Miss Christie?
Miss Christie?
The comic relief?
Yeah, I mean, she was definitely comic relief. I think the best explanation or description of Miss Christie was given by Dr. Curtis, who she said that Miss Christie is described as suffering from an overabundance of feminine instincts.
What was the term that, like the Latin term for, didn't he say like some long Latin-y word and like he said like feminine instinct or something like that?
Yeah, he did. No, I know it was.
Oh.
Yeah, you're right though. She was definitely the comic relief. But yeah, these characters seemed really lived in. Like I had to look around. I'm like, is this a series? Like, did these characters show up? I don't think they show up anywhere else.
But I kind of had a weird like screen crush on her just because she eats like Jughead Jones.
Yeah.
And she loves like horror things and scary stuff. Like she's addicted to goose flesh and eating. Like goosebumps and eating things. I was like, this is like my dream woman.
She is. Yeah, she's really funny. It's played by an actress named Heather Thatcher. And so it's a Scotland Yard scientist and his assistant, but they double as paranormal investigators. And yeah, Miss Christie is definitely the one that's all about the haunted houses, the scary stories. And they're brought to the Hammond estate to investigate. There have been some kind of strange attacks. Maybe at first they thought maybe from an animal. And yeah, so it kind of goes from there. They go and start looking into this family and their kind of cursed history, if you will.
Yes. And it was, it is a mystery, so I don't think we need to talk about the final reel or anything. But, there was that, like we've talked a lot about the old dark house and that the cat and the canary is that what it's called? Yeah. Like that era when we were all, as a people, were like into rationalism and explaining away everything. Everything is an escaped ape. It's not a monster, or it's this person wearing a mask, or dressing up like something. But there was never a supernatural explanation to anything in like the first 20 years of film or 30 years of film. And Dracula and Frankenstein were kind of the notable breaks in that tradition, but it still hung around in the 30s quite a bit. And this film oddly straddles both sides of that fence with like this very dry, like, this is science. I'm going to analyze these things through the tools that are the state of the art of the time, but also having kind of a oddly supernatural element to it at the same time.
That's a perfect way of describing it. I think the scene that best encapsulates that is when he's looking at like the spectrograph of the wolf hair.
Yeah.
And with the hair found at the crime scene. And he's like, oh, okay, look, they look exactly the same. And then the hair that's found at the scene just disappears. Yeah. And you can see his face as a doctor. He's like, holy shit. I think he even says, he's like, that's not supposed to happen.
Yeah.
And, Miss Christie's very excited about that.
Yeah.
And so I liked their dynamic. I really did.
I didn't like him as much as I liked Peter Cushing in The Legend of the Werewolf. Remember him when he was like the early Parisian version of a medical examiner? He was my favorite of those types of roles that we've talked about on the show. But I like this guy. It's that era when everyone's kind of slick and all the dialogue super polished and charming, like painfully charming and witty, and between people that are erudite. I have to say that the cinematography was freaking gorgeous. I mean,
it really was. It was just like, and like you said, these movies, it was 63 minutes long. Like you would think this is like a B picture, just like kind of, made
filling out a bill.
Yeah. To just fill out a double feature or something. But no, it was, I mean, though it's short, it's really, really well done. Yeah.
I think the photography was probably the best part of the whole thing, in my opinion. You could have the sound down and just watch it.
Yeah, it was really, really beautiful. And it ends with a obvious kind of twist that we're not going to spoil. But it's a beautifully shot film. It has, pretty decent acting and a good story. I loved seeing all of his, 1942 science equipment, like my vacuum tube and my Bunsen burner, and you gotta love that shit.
Yeah.
And though there's not, I mean, I think this fits pretty well with other early werewolf films, especially Werewolf of London. But the Wolfman and everything else, I think it fits in pretty well.
Yeah.
So don't expect a ton of shots of an actual werewolf.
No, at all.
At all. But I didn't think that was a huge, factor that would take away from this movie.
Yeah. I didn't love it, but I enjoyed it quite a bit, and I would probably watch it again at some point. It's a breezy 63 minutes. It goes by like that, and it's like I said, it's cinematography and the set design. It did not look cheap at all.
No, not at all.
Like there's that one set when they're approaching where one of the first attack is, and it's like on a winding road on a cliffside, kind of like by the moors or whatever, and it's clearly like a set. Like I don't know if it's a one-to-one size set or if it's a model and they did some type of trickery, but it's cool. Like everything looks cool. And if you like old movies where people, if you like the Thin Man and the Wolf Man, this is like the two things kind of put together in a weird way.
Wow, that's a great description. Very accurate.
Like lots of talking, lots of slick dialogue and some spooky stuff, but it's all kind of rationalized and explained away, but then and not. So I found it totally enjoyable, and I would recommend it to anybody that likes movies from this era and you're interested in something like this. It felt like it was a middle of a film series of characters that we followed and liked, and like you said, feel really lived in and thought out. Like I really thought there was more of these films, and I didn't find any. Yeah,
I looked too. I really looked. I was like, oh, these must be very common characters that I just don't know about. But nope, just this one movie. So yeah, big thanks to Mark for recommending this. This was a great watch.
Yeah, I'm glad that I finally saw it. I definitely had heard the name The Hammond Mystery and had read it in a list of old werewolf stuff. And yeah, I'm so glad I saw it. I really enjoyed it. I recommend it to anybody that wants to check it out. Unfortunately, it doesn't look that great on YouTube. I think there's an opening shot, which is really cool, which is like tracking through the Hammond Manor. And it's like kind of the camera's kind of zigzagging and like hitting points of interest in this one shot of like the dog asleep on the floor. Then it goes over to character asleep on the couch, and it goes over to this thing and like shows a statue, blah, blah. But like with the heavy compression and whatever on YouTube, it looked a little blurry and kind of made me feel a little dizzy for a second. And I was like, I'm going to download a decent print of this. And I'm glad I did because it was worth it. So you can see it for free on YouTube. It doesn't look great. I would recommend renting it, or you can also watch it for free on something on Roku, like one of the many apps that's just kind of a, if you just search Undying Monster on Roku, it'll say, oh, download this app and watch it for free. It's probably the same thing that's on YouTube though. So I would recommend actually spending $2.99 or whatever it is on Amazon and renting this and watching it digitally with a nice print. I think it's worth it. Yeah, watching a nice print is totally worth it. Yeah. If you are watching a muddy, compressed, whatever, I probably would be willing to say I wouldn't be as impressed as I was. So yeah, thank you, Mark, again for that recommendation. That was awesome. What should we do next? Do you need a extended break from Paul? No, I'm ready. Let's dive back in. Okay, so we're going to do the Face of the Screaming Yeti or whatever it is? Yep. What is it called? Something about the Yeti. I can't remember exactly what the wording is, but no, I just needed a little break. Okay. And now I'm ready for the last two that we're going to do. So our next film will be picking up again on our last two Paul Naschy films. So the Waldemar Daninsky story continues. We're going to be watching the 1975 outing called The Werewolf and the Yeti, which is also called La Maldición de la Bestia, also known as Night of the Howling Beast. So it's got several names. And the user review on IMDb says The Werewolf and the Yeti, or The Curse of the Beast, has a bit more nudity and gore than the usual Paul Naschy werewolf film. So, wow, hey, okay, nice headline. Damn. Hopefully that's available for you on YouTube. If it's not and you're dying for it, why don't you shoot us an email at werewolfbynightpodcast@gmail.com and we'll hook you up with a link. We've done that. We're good guys. That. Yeah, we don't care. Like Robin Hoods. Yeah. Hoodses. All right. Well, Thanks for joining us this week, listeners, and be sure to be back here next week for the finale of the mind-shattering, senses-smashing finale of the Marcosa saga and Night of the Howling Beast.
Yeah, I know the show is drawing to a close. I think we have 8 episodes left, right, Matt?
That sounds correct.
Yeah. But, we'd love some more reviews. If you can leave us a 5-star on Apple Podcasts and us a screenshot of your review, we will send you a nice pack of Werewolf by Night buttons made from actual issues of Werewolf by Night. We've got a couple more reviews, so I was able to send out some packs of buttons, and that felt great. Yeah, the reviews are coming in, and they're good. I'll take it.
Yes, thank you very much for those reviews. They're much appreciated and very thoughtful and kind. I was flattered, as I'm sure you were, Jacob.
Definitely. Loved it.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us, listeners. Till we meet again beneath the full moon, furry ones, here's howling at ya.